If your delivery app ever gives you an order scheduled for exactly 2:17 in the morning, cancel it. Don't ask why. Just do it. I know that sounds dramatic, maybe even paranoid, but if someone had said those exact words to me 6 months ago, I would have laughed, accepted the order anyway, and driven straight toward the worst mistake of my life. That's exactly what I did. It looked ordinary enough, just another late-night delivery during another slow shift. The payout was ridiculous, the kind that makes you assume some rich insomniac forgot how tipping works. I convinced myself I'd be home 20 minutes later with an easy paycheck and a good story. I couldn't have been more wrong. There was one detail on that order I didn't notice until much later, and if I had, none of this would have happened. I replay that moment every night, wondering whether I would have canceled if I'd looked just a second longer. Maybe I would have. Maybe it wouldn't have mattered. Some mistakes start long before you realize you've made them. The strange part wasn't the address. It wasn't the money. It wasn't even the delivery time. The strange part was who accepted it before me. Send, expand next section, when you're ready to continue. Most night shifts followed the same comfortable rhythm. I'd park outside the usual restaurants, joke with the cashiers while they packed orders, and trade ridiculous customer stories with other drivers killing time between deliveries. Someone always had a complaint about impossible apartment complexes. Someone else would laugh about a customer ordering milkshakes in the middle of winter. Those conversations made the long hours feel almost normal. By 2 in the morning, the city usually settled into a quiet routine where nothing surprising ever happened. That night felt exactly the same until my phone buzzed. One new order. The payout was so high I thought the app had glitched. When I showed the screen to the cashier, expecting him to whistle at the tip, his smile disappeared. He leaned closer, reading the address twice before sliding the bag across the counter without another word. Behind him, one of the cooks glanced over his shoulder. Another one. He muttered so quietly I almost missed it. "What does that mean?" I asked. Nobody answered. Instead, the kitchen became strangely silent. An older delivery driver waiting near the pickup shelf walked over and looked directly at my phone. His expression changed the second he recognized the destination. "You're new, aren't you?" I nodded. He sighed. "Just don't go there." I laughed awkwardly. "For that payout? Come on." He didn't smile. "It's not worth the money." "What happens there?" His eyes drifted toward the window before returning to mine. "You don't want to know." Then he simply walked away. Nobody tried explaining further. Nobody argued. They just avoided looking at the address altogether, as if reading it too long was dangerous. The strange thing was the order stayed available. No experienced driver touched it, despite the unbelievable payout. I accepted it without another thought. I found out later that every experienced driver keeps a list of places they'll never deliver. My GPS calculated the route. Then it started navigating somewhere impossible. The route looked ordinary for the first few minutes. I followed familiar streets, past the same gas station where I always bought energy drinks, and watched the blue line glide across my screen without thinking twice. Then the GPS chimed. Recalculating route. I frowned but kept driving. A minute later it did it again. Then again. Every turn sent me farther away from neighborhoods I recognized. Storefronts disappeared. Traffic vanished. Even the road signs became fewer until I realized something stranger was happening. The street names on my GPS were gone. The map still showed a road beneath my car, but every label had simply vanished. I checked my phone. No signal. Not one bar. The farther I drove, the farther apart the streetlights became. Pools of darkness stretched between each one until my headlights felt swallowed by the night itself. Then the GPS spoke again. "Continue straight." "There is no straight," I muttered. The pavement ended 50 yards ahead. Beyond it was nothing except an overgrown lane disappearing into darkness. Somehow, the navigation insisted that was the correct route. Against every instinct I had, I kept driving. Branches scraped against my car. Gravel crunched beneath the tires. After what felt like forever, the trees suddenly opened. An entire neighborhood stood before me. Every lawn was perfectly trimmed. Every fence had fresh white paint. Every house looked untouched by time. But not a single porch light was on. No parked cars. No barking dogs. No voices. Nothing. The silence pressed against the windows harder than any sound could have. I slowed to a crawl. Each mailbox carried the same last name. Willow. Every single one. My headlights swept across a small front yard where a child's swing gently rocked back and forth. There wasn't even a breeze. A television flickered behind one curtain. Another glowed across the street. Another farther down the block. Blue light filled empty living rooms, yet nobody crossed a window. Nobody looked outside. Nobody acknowledged I was there. My GPS chimed cheerfully. You have arrived. I stared through the windshield. No, I haven't. Because this place wasn't on any map I'd ever seen. It wasn't on satellite view later. It wasn't in city records. It simply wasn't. I should have left the second I noticed every house had the exact same number. Instead, I parked. As I reached for the delivery bag, one porch light suddenly flickered to life. I climbed out of the car with the food clutched tighter than I needed to hold it. The neighborhood remained perfectly still, almost staged, like someone had built an entire suburb and forgotten to populate it. The only sound came from my footsteps on the concrete walkway. Even that felt too loud. The porch light cast a warm yellow glow across the front door. Everything about the house looked painfully ordinary. Blue shutters, a welcome mat, fresh flowers in a ceramic pot. It looked like the kind of place where someone would invite you inside for coffee. My phone vibrated. Delivery instructions. Leave at the door. Do not knock. Do not look inside. I laughed under my breath. Yeah, okay. I set the bag down and reached for my phone to take the delivery photo. That's when I heard footsteps. Not one pair. Several. Moving slowly toward the other side of the door. Every instinct screamed at me to walk away. Instead, I stayed. The footsteps stopped. The doorknob turned with painful slowness. The door drifted open only a few inches. Darkness waited beyond it. Curiosity won. I leaned forward just enough to look through the opening. At first, nothing made sense. Then everything did. I wasn't looking into a stranger's house. I was looking into my apartment. The same faded couch. The same bookshelf. The same crooked picture frame I'd been meaning to fix for months. My jacket hung over the same chair. The television displayed the movie I'd paused before leaving for work. On the kitchen counter sat my coffee mug, half full, still unfinished from earlier that evening. Every detail belonged to me. Every detail was exactly where I had left it. My stomach twisted. No. A figure stepped into view. Me. Same uniform. Same tired eyes. Same scratch on my chin from shaving that morning. The only difference was the smile. It wasn't friendly. It wasn't cruel. It looked relieved, like someone who had been waiting a very long time. My copy tilted its head. Then, barely above a whisper, it spoke. You're early this time. Every muscle in my body locked. I stumbled backward, nearly falling off the porch. The door remained open. The thing wearing my face never crossed the threshold. It simply watched me. Behind it, I noticed movement. More silhouettes. Dozens of them. Each standing silently in rooms that should have been empty. Some looked like delivery drivers. Others wore business suits, hospital scrubs, school uniforms. Every one of them stared at me without blinking. That wasn't even the worst thing I saw inside. Some of them were beginning to look like me. I turned and ran. I didn't look back until I reached my car. The engine roared to life immediately. As I slammed the gear into reverse, the front door was already closing. Just before it disappeared, my double smiled once more. You'll be back tomorrow. I sped out of the neighborhood without caring where the road led. My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped my phone. The delivery app was still open. The order hadn't changed. Across the screen, a single message waited. Delivery in progress. I drove until the neighborhood disappeared behind a wall of trees, but the relief never came. The GPS kept speaking in the same calm voice, endlessly recalculating before directing me back the way I'd come. Recalculating route. Turn around when possible. I ignored it. 5 minutes later, I passed the same abandoned gas station I'd already driven by. 10 minutes after that, I crossed the same cracked bridge. The roads weren't just similar. They were repeating. I checked my fuel gauge. The needle hadn't moved. Neither had the dashboard clock. It still read 2:17 a.m. The seconds refused to change. My phone vibrated. The delivery app displayed only 3 words. Customer is waiting. I closed the app. It reopened by itself. Customer is waiting. I powered my phone off. When it restarted, the message was still there. Desperate, I called driver support. The line connected almost immediately. A woman answered in a voice so quiet I could barely hear her. Driver support. What's your emergency? I can't complete the delivery, I blurted. The address, something's wrong. She was silent for several seconds. Then she asked one question. Did you look inside? My heart stopped. How do you know about? The line filled with static. Then she whispered something I almost missed. I'm sorry. The call disconnected. Every attempt afterward failed. By sunrise, the roads were normal again. The neighborhood was gone. Days turned into weeks, but I couldn't let it go. I searched archived Reddit discussions, forgotten creepypasta forums, deleted delivery blogs, and broken video links. Buried beneath missing images and dead web pages, I found fragments from people describing the same impossible neighborhood, the same delivery time, and the same address. Every account ended abruptly. User profiles vanished. Photos returned error messages. Videos had been removed without explanation. This wasn't the first case. It had been happening for years. There was one survivor, but nobody believed what he recorded. His footage showed nothing except an empty suburban street. Yet near the end, a voice behind the camera quietly said, "You're early this time." The recording ended there. His account disappeared 2 days later. I tried convincing myself it was an elaborate internet myth. Then, 3 weeks after that night, my phone buzzed during another routine shift. One new delivery request. Same address. Different customer name. I quit delivering before the month was over. I deleted every delivery app, bought a new phone, opened a new account under a different email, and eventually moved to another city. I told myself distance would solve everything. New streets. New apartment. New routine. No more late-night shifts. No more impossible addresses. For a while, it worked. Then, 6 months later, my phone buzzed at exactly 2:17 a.m. New delivery request. I froze. The payout was higher than I remembered. The address hadn't changed. Then I looked at the customer name. It was mine. I didn't accept it. I threw the phone across the room. The notification disappeared before I picked it up. Every night since then, at exactly 2:17, my phone vibrates. Sometimes there's no notification. Sometimes the screen is completely black. But I always know why it happened. Something is still waiting for me. Maybe it always will. If you've ever seen an address disappear from your GPS, tell me. Actually, don't. I've noticed something strange while searching for answers. Every comment mentioning impossible delivery routes, disappearing neighborhoods, or streets that aren't on any map seems to vanish within hours. Entire discussions disappear overnight. Accounts are deleted. Screenshots stop loading. It's almost like someone, or something, is cleaning up the evidence before too many people compare stories. So, if you've experienced anything like this, pay attention to the details. Look for clues hidden in this story. Compare it with the other cases about places that shouldn't exist. Maybe you'll find a pattern I missed. Or maybe that's exactly what it wants you to do. Maybe that's why nobody warned me, because every warning gets erased. And if your phone vibrates tonight at exactly 2:17 a.m., whatever you do, don't accept the order.